A powerful earthquake, measuring 7.9 on the Richter scale, has just rocked the island, sending shockwaves through the entire region. Within moments, local news stations shifted to live coverage, their anchors sounding the alarm as real-time footage of the disaster unfolded. Viewers around the world were glued to their screens as the first harrowing moments were captured on camera. The earth trembled violently, shaking for what felt like an eternity. Entire neighborhoods crumbled in seconds, reduced to piles of debris. Officials quickly confirmed that devastation was widespread, impacting several cities at once. Eyewitnesses reported at least 12,000 homes collapsing almost instantly. Families, in sheer panic, ran into the streets, screaming for safety, while many held each other, desperate and afraid. Glass windows shattered, showering streets below. Cars collided as cracks ripped through roads, while bridges buckled and plunged into nearby rivers. Rail lines twisted as if made of paper, prompting an immediate suspension of all train services. Airports grounded flights as urgent safety checks began. Millions of residents were left in darkness as power grids failed across large swaths of the region. Water mains burst, flooding roads and basements, turning urban areas into makeshift rivers. Gas leaks ignited, triggering fierce fires in several districts. Rescue crews worked tirelessly, rushing into the remains of collapsed buildings. Search dogs sniffed through the rubble, desperately seeking any signs of life. Every faint voice heard from beneath the concrete fueled hope among rescuers. Hospitals quickly became overwhelmed. Doctors and nurses operated around the clock, treating broken limbs and severe injuries. Parking lots and school gyms were converted into temporary medical centers, with rows of cots and tents set up to house the injured. Children wailed in fear, clutching their parents tightly. Elderly residents were gently carried away by volunteers. Schools and public halls served as emergency shelters, providing the displaced with mats, blankets, and a place to sleep. Volunteers distributed food, clean water, and warm clothes to those in need. Meanwhile, local news channels broadcast heartbreaking scenes of streets flattened, with reporters standing live amidst the dust and debris. Authorities issued urgent warnings about potential aftershocks, as the risk of a tsunami remained high. Many people, too scared to return home, took refuge in parks and open fields, which became sprawling tent communities. Despite the tragedy, small moments of hope emerged. Children were comforted with songs and simple toys. Neighbors shared meals and supplies, displaying remarkable solidarity in the face of disaster. A network of community kitchens was quickly established in emergency shelters, providing hot meals to those left without homes. Engineers worked around the clock, inspecting bridges, dams, and power plants for critical damage. Some structures revealed alarming cracks, raising fears of further collapses. Emergency crews rushed to reinforce weakened buildings, battling time to prevent additional disasters. Across the globe, major news networks broadcast dramatic footage of the devastation, making it impossible to ignore. The sheer scale of destruction left viewers around the world in shock. Messages of solidarity and support began pouring in from various countries, offering hope in the face of tragedy. Local media focused not only on destruction but also on inspiring stories of bravery. One mother was seen rescuing her children from beneath the rubble of their collapsed home. A firefighter risked his life to pull a newborn baby from the wreckage. Ordinary citizens emerged as heroes, their acts of kindness shining through the darkness. The earthquake left deep scars across the landscape. A woman carried her injured neighbor for kilometers, determined to get help. Countless acts of selflessness unfolded as communities came together, united by grief and resilience. Yet the scale of the destruction is almost unimaginable. Entire neighborhoods vanished, replaced by flattened earth and twisted metal. City skylines changed forever in a matter of seconds. Economists estimate the financial toll to reach into the billions. Meanwhile, rescue teams continued their work on the ground, tirelessly searching for survivors. Factories were forced to shut down. Markets closed indefinitely. Countless jobs and livelihoods disappeared in an instant. But amid the devastation, one thing remains unbroken: Taiwan's spirit. People refused to surrender to despair. Neighbors opened their doors, sharing food, shelter, and hope. Children, once traumatized, began smiling again in makeshift classrooms set up under tents. News anchors concluded their broadcasts with messages of hope and resilience. Volunteers distributed essentials, food, clean water, and warm clothing to those in need. Heart-wrenching images continued to air non-stop, showing the scale of loss and determination to survive. Reporters stood amid dust and debris, speaking from the front lines. The air remained thick with smoke and sorrow as people cried out in search of missing family members. Aftershocks continued to shake the region, striking fear into the hearts of everyone. Authorities issued repeated warnings, urging residents to remain outdoors for their safety. Families set up temporary camps in parks and along streets, choosing open spaces over fragile structures. Neighbors held hands, forming human chains of support, praying together for safety and strength. International media kept the world updated, broadcasting shocking footage from every angle. Messages of encouragement and aid continued to flow from abroad, lifting the spirits of those affected. Engineers carried out thorough inspections of critical infrastructure, dams, bridges, and nuclear facilities. With every crack found, the fear of further collapses grew. The situation remained tense as authorities worked non-stop to keep the population safe. Rescue helicopters hovered low over devastated towns, their rotors cutting through the thick dust in the air. Ropes were lowered carefully, reaching out to families trapped on rooftops and isolated balconies. In flooded streets, boats maneuvered skillfully, carrying frightened survivors to safer ground. Volunteers formed human chains, their hands gripping tightly as they pulled people to safety, one by one. Stories of bravery and determination filled the news cycle. Eyewitnesses shared their terrifying experiences, accounts of sheer fear and the will to survive. Firefighters moved quickly, battling fierce flames that threatened to consume entire blocks. Rescue teams searched relentlessly, digging through the rubble for any sign of life. Rescue dogs barked and scratched, leading their handlers to survivors buried beneath the wreckage. Every person pulled from the debris was met with tears of relief and hope. Hospitals became overwhelmed with a sudden influx of injured victims. Doctors worked in hallways, in tents, anywhere space allowed, treating broken limbs and serious wounds. Nurses, exhausted but unwavering, continued to bandage injuries around the clock. Children cried in fear, their small voices echoing inside crowded shelters. Elderly survivors were carefully carried away by volunteers, each step taken with gentle care. Schools, stadiums, and community halls were quickly transformed into emergency shelters. Families huddled together on mats and blankets, finding solace in their shared struggle.